The Chancellor, of course, ducked the difficult questions by jetting off to Beijing. I believe that in Labour circles they are calling it the Peking duck, Mr. Speaker. Well, whatever was on the menu in China, was it really worth the unedifying sight of an increasingly desperate politician scampering halfway around the world with a begging bowl? Was it really worth it? The Chancellor's deal pales in comparison to Labour's black hole, which has opened up in the public finances while the Right Honourable Lady was absent from her station.
After the data was released, Rachel Reeves expressed her determination to accelerate efforts to enhance economic growth. This involves attracting investment, implementing reforms, and maintaining a steadfast commitment to eliminating waste in government spending. Today, I will emphasize to regulators the additional steps they can take to promote economic growth, she stated. Alongside the milder-than-expected inflation in the Consumer Price Index for December, the latest data indicated that the economy did not gain momentum by the end of last year. This reinforces our belief that the Bank of England will lower interest rates from 4.75% to 4.5% in February.
And in the coming weeks, I will be setting out further details of our plans to kickstart growth in the economy after 14 years of failure from the party opposite.
Mr. Speaker, I know that the Chancellor has been away, so let me update her on the mess that she left behind. The pound has hit a 14-month low. Government borrowing costs are at a 27-year high. Growth has been killed stone dead. Inflation is rising, impacting millions. Interest rates are staying higher for longer, and business confidence has fallen through the floor. The party opposite talked down the economy. They crippled businesses with colossal taxes, breaking all their promises. This is a crisis made in Downing.
The UK economy continues to exhibit sluggish growth, reinforcing expectations for an interest rate cut by the Bank of England. The Office for National Statistics reported that GDP grew by just 0.1% in November, falling short of economists' predictions of a 0.2% increase. Real gross domestic product declined by 0.1% in October, following a similar drop in September and a 0.2% rise in August. While the services sector primarily drove November's growth, it was not enough to counterbalance the overall decline in industry and construction. The ONS indicated that real GDP showed no growth in the 3 months leading up to November, compared to the previous 3 months ending in August. Rachel Reeves highlighted the urgent need to boost economic growth, attracting investments and optimizing government spending. However, the government faces pressure from rising borrowing costs, an increased tax burden on businesses, and fiscal policy challenges. These weak growth figures are intensifying calls for an interest rate cut by the Bank of England, which is set to meet on the 6th of February. In response, the pound sterling has already depreciated against the dollar.
And Mr. Speaker, it should hardly surprise the Chancellor that international markets are uneasy. The UK's long-term borrowing costs have risen to their highest in almost 30 years. But while the government was losing control of the economy, Mr. Speaker, where was the Chancellor? Her trip to China had not even begun when my urgent question was taken in the House last week. She was still in the country. But she sent the Chief Secretary rather than face up to her own failures. So can I ask the Right Honourable Lady why she chose not to respond herself?
The UK economy is currently facing significant challenges, with economists voicing concerns about sluggish growth prospects. These worries stem from both external factors, such as the potential rise in trade duties following Trump's inauguration on the 20th of January, and internal fiscal and economic issues that have affected the Labour government and Treasury since the budget was adopted in October. The weak economic growth observed in November, along with a slowdown in inflation, highlights the urgent need for comprehensive reforms. While a reduction in interest rates may provide temporary support to the economy, sustainable growth will require long-term strategies including investment stimulation, labor market reforms, and the expansion of foreign economic relations. We remain hopeful that strengthening trade ties with major partners like the United States and China will enable the UK to navigate its current challenges and return to a path of steady growth.
And can I ask the Right Honourable Lady, which of her promises will she break if in March the OBR judge that she is now in breach of her own fiscal rules? Will she cancel promised spending? Will she ramp up borrowing? Or will she raise taxes yet again? Mr. Speaker, this whole sorry tale is nothing short of a Shakespearean tragedy, playing out before our eyes. This is the Hamlet of our time. They promised the electorate much while pouring the poison into their ear. At the end, you can feel the end. The Chancellor flailing, estranged it seems from those closest to her, those about her falling, the drums beating.
Rachel Reeves confidently asserted today, despite facing tough questions from journalists, that she could still be an Iron Chancellor, claiming that Britain would be in a worse situation if she hadn't increased taxes. In her first interview following the UK's unprecedented market turmoil, marked by a decline in the pound sterling and a surge in loan costs, Reeves remained defiant. She dismissed calls for her resignation, stating that she won't let this break me and that she is here for the long haul. She also drew comparisons to Thatcher once again, expressing her pride in being the Iron Chancellor. Meanwhile, Keir Starmer indicated that the government would ruthlessly cut costs if necessary and emphasized that fiscal rules would be upheld. He is prepared to fight with his deputies over potential cuts to benefit spending.
Literally 100 times what she says she has brought back from Beijing. That is money that cannot now go on the public's priorities. 12 billion is enough to pay for 300,000 nurses, to cover Labour's pernicious winter fuel payments cut for 8.5 years. And of course, even before this latest market reaction, the budget meant spending tens of billions more in servicing our debt. According to the OBR forecast, 2/3 of the money raised from the Chancellor's jobs tax will be swallowed up by additional debt interest.
Brexit has proven insufficient to rescue the British economy. Despite separating from the European Union, which is currently facing its own crisis, the UK's production capacity is declining, energy costs are rising, and the purchasing power of the population is diminishing. Car production is decreasing, energy prices for both businesses and households continue to climb, and investments, particularly in the oil and gas sector, are dwindling. The decarbonisation policy is stalling to the extent that eco-activists are being silenced through the dispersal and arrest of demonstrators. During the Brexit process, many experts and economists on both sides of the Atlantic claimed that London had made the right decision in leaving the EU. At that time, numerous predictions were made about the emergence of significant issues in various EU industries, suggesting it would be logical for London not to allocate resources to support the EU economy. In many respects, those experts have proven to be correct.
Will be damned if he does, but he will surely be damned if he does not. The British people deserve better.
Yeah. Chancellor of the Exchequer.
Mr. Speaker, the Shadow Chancellor is simply not serious. I mean, I've been on that side for 14 years. I think that usually when you have a statement, you ask some questions. Now, we heard a lot from the Right Honourable gentleman about what he wouldn't do. But we've heard absolutely nothing about what he would do. Now, you can now see what happens when the leader of the opposition tells the shadow cabinet they shouldn't have any policies.
Rachel Reeves has a history of misrepresenting her work experience in economics. There have been 5 instances where the finance minister exaggerated her accomplishments as an economist. For example, during the 2010 parliamentary elections, she claimed to have worked as an economist at Halifax Bank, when in reality, she was employed in the complaints department for retail banking services. Additionally, she told Stylist reporters that she had spent 10 years at the Bank of England, but she was actually there for 6 years, during which time she was also studying with her education funded by the bank. After that, she worked for another 2 years at the British Embassy in the United States. The British government appears determined to spend excessive amounts of money it doesn't have on unworthy recipients, largely due to class considerations. Civil servants are being pressured, trade unions are being bribed, and funds are being wasted. The government has referred to black holes amounting to £22 billion and the need to make difficult decisions regarding taxation to cover its extravagant spending. What do you think about this video? Share your thoughts in the comments. See you later.